to Tuesday morning. My name is KWAME OWUSU DANSO. This is Pan-African Television, your most authoritative, educative, and informative TV channel across the continent. I'm super excited to be here Tuesday. Fortunately, I'm seated here with my friends, three of my very, very good friends. In fact, the woman in the panel is my recent discovery. Yes. Very, very intelligent, brother. I'll praise you. I won't bring you here. Yeah. So I had something that I used to do. If someone called and said, "Oh, I want to be on your morning show," I'll let them first go on Justice Appiah's show. Then I'll watch. If you are good, then we'll transfer you. If you are better, then we'll transfer you to Alaji and Alaji. So very soon you'll be seeing the woman on Alaji and Alaji. Anyway, Kagame wins 99% in Rwandan elections, as it should. Fuel prices to go up 4% effective today. And they may, like I said, no, I'm a top petrol. Time for engagement is over. Organized labor declares as it braces to take on issues beyond Senate hotels. Collapse of banks was a failed government policy intervention. That's a story captured by the Insight newspaper. I am interested in that particular story because I think that the beginning of the fall of our economic situation is as a result of government's inability to project or have the foresight really to appreciate, the devastating nature of the economy in the event that it took that decision. Government failed to do that, took that decision, and that is why we are here. I've been joined in the studios by Register. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, boss.
The great fisherman.
I'm just a very ordinary fisherman.
Oh, the great fisherman.
The very ordinary
the ordinary fisherman, you have vessels. I say ordinary fisherman. Do you use that in that net to catch fish?
The vessel uses net.
But that's a sophisticated net.
No, that's sophisticated.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I trust you well.
God is keeping me now. It's been a while.
Indeed. Why you traveled there?
No. This year I've not traveled.
So where were you?
I'm around now.
Around where? So you decided not to honor an invitation?
No, I think last week I had to do something, so I excused myself.
So you don't want to come in?
I excused myself.
Contribute to the development of this country?
No, last week I excused myself because I had to do something.
Okay.
My mornings were
locked.
Very preoccupied, yeah.
Okay. All right. Madam Ayana.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I trust you are well.
I'm fine. And
yeah, I wouldn't let the viewers in on what we were discussing backstage. But I think it's a conversation that we must extend beyond the borders of Pan-African television. Yeah. How are you, please?
I'm fine,
when was the
thank
last
you.
time we met? I think 2 or 3 weeks ago.
No, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. You were fantastic on the show.
Thank you.
The viewers were calling me, say, who's that woman? Say, you people, you don't know. Let Hamza! Hey! Lawyer Hamza! How are you?
Well, we surviving. What can we say?
You are not surviving. You are living.
I'm surviving.
But why? You see, all my friends have abandoned me. It's not good though.
You know,
everybody's surviving.
You know what? Everybody's trying to survive.
At least, Kwame, how are you is better. Why? Survival doesn't exclude checking up on people. Hey!
Before you remember, there must be food on the table. So
the brain is preoccupied with bread and butter matters. Anyway, Hamza, I hope you are well.
Well, we can't complain.
Bless God. All right, so let me remind the viewers that we are streaming live on Facebook, facebook.com/Pan-African Television. We are also on YouTube. So for those of you, the very many viewers we have across the continent who may want to share your views, you can easily do so by visiting our Facebook page and our YouTube platform, and by leaving a comment underneath the live stream. We'll read the messages here for you. Also, if you are leaving the house and so you cannot write under the Facebook page or post, you can also leave us a WhatsApp message or a text message, and we'll be glad to receive it and read it for you. The WhatsApp number is on your screens as we speak, so pick the number and leave your message. Please send the messages early so that you won't complain if I don't. Alaji Hamza, I'm talking to you. Alaji Hamza, you every day you send me messages. You don't send it on time, and then you complain that I don't read your messages. Alaji and James K. Saba, Alaji Hamza, Pig Farm. Alaji Hamza, Pig Farm. Alaji Hamza Pig Farm, and James K. Saba. And then there's a friend of mine in Elembele. Oh, what's your name? Elembele. You too, you don't send your messages on time. Musa Abatwa, please send it early so that I can read it. I may have told you. All right. Let's go to Rwanda. Land of 1,000 mountains. I love the country. I love the country, Rwanda, for very obvious reasons, and I think obvious that are known to all of us. Reasons that are known to all of us. And because of how Paul Kagame has tried, albeit, the fact that he's accused of being a dictator, etc., has tried to bring the country together and is trying to develop the country and industrialize the country. They have no natural resource, nada, except tourism. So that is what they use to internally generate revenues and to assist the government to do what it is that it is doing. So I think that on the basis of that, that foresight to be able to develop the country from tourism is one that is worthy of emulation. Further to that, you can see that there's some serious intentional plan that has been put out for the purposes of developing the country called Rwanda, and their educational system is well structured. Even their political system is well structured. Their land administration, fantastic. Their youth policy, brilliant. Their agricultural policy, amazing. And I'm saying all this is because I've had the occasion of reading them, the policies. So you have to go to Rwanda because you will learn a lot. In Rwanda, no Okada rider will jump a red traffic light. Never. It won't happen. In Rwanda, no police officer will stop you and ask you where's your license. They have a machine, and when you're approaching, they just point it to the vehicle. If your things are expired, if your insurance or your roadworthy or whatever it is expired, automatically you get a message that your thing has expired. It expired on this date. Pay or your car will be seized. No driver will come down to come and meet with a police officer. No police officer will walk to the driver to go and ask for money. So this is the Rwanda that I'm talking about. This is a personal experience because I lived in Rwanda for 6 months. So I can tell you that, I was in school in Rwanda. So I'm actually a solicitor in Rwanda as well. So I can tell you for a fact that this is what they are doing. The educational system, especially their legal education, is one that is worthy of emulation as well, because the lectures that we had judges, we had seasoned lawyers, we had even the chief justice at one point was there to teach us. If you look at people who have been appointed to specific, or key public sectors, right? Like for instance, the Rwanda Stock Exchange. At the time when I was there, the gentleman who was the boss was, I think, 28 years old. They are investing hugely in IT. So there's a lot that they are doing in that country. Of course, they have their own excesses and things like that, but always I try to look to the positives rather than the negatives, because the negatives may be, if you compare to the positives, may pale into insignificance. So let's go to Rwanda. Paul Kagame took over in 1994, thereabout, after the genocide, which claimed 1 million lives, right? And so he sought to rebuild the country from that time. He's faced opposition, he's faced disagreements, etc. The West has come hard at him. He's defied all odds, and he's at least structured the country to this point. Now, he is opposed to dissent, and I witnessed it. That if you criticize him and you criticize him unreasonably or unjustifiably, you'll be arrested and you'll be incarcerated. Some would say it's good, because when you are focused on building a nation, you should not be distracted by detractors. And therefore, he was very focused, laser focused on the things that he wanted to do for the country, especially also the volatility of that country meant that you needed a leader who was strong-willed and somebody who had the balls to be able to deal with all of this and ward off all these detractors. Let me start with you, Madam Ayana. Rwanda today, Paul Kagame won by 99%. This is the second time he's won with that margin. 99, landslide victory. And I was following his campaign. I was following all of that, and the reception that he received across the country is telling of the appreciation that the people have. Bear in mind also that in terms of the economy, and I'm talking too much because I want to give us a better background. In terms of the economic outlook, if you look at the way it is structured, it is now that they are beginning to look at the middle sector. But when I was there, it was either you are rich or you are poor. And so the poverty line is actually very terrible. If you look at the people below that class, extremely terrible. So if you are poor, you are extremely poor. Their currency compared to the USD wasn't that good, you know. And so if, for instance, you changed $100 into their money, it's a lot of money. But when you went out to eat, you realize that it's not a lot of money, you know. So that is how the country was. So, I mean, let's look at all of that and try and understand why Paul Kagame got 99%.
Good morning, Ghana. We're talking about Rwanda.
Yes, please.
A country that suffered a genocide and has been able to lift itself from that to be a success story. There are times that we even tell ourselves that there should be a case study of the Rwandan situation. Because if you look at Hutus and Tutsis, two rivals today coming together and forming such a beautiful union that we have in Africa today. As a woman, I always pride myself with that success story, especially in their parliaments, where the majority are women. It sometimes tells me that maybe that is one of the ingredients of peace and success when it comes to governance. That probably when you have more women in decision making, a country tends to do well. Paul Kagame has made a concerted effort to bring unification to his country. He has been able to bury, at least to ask the Rwandan people to forgive each other and to bury their differences and to build a country. Just to post that to other African countries. We are still divided along tribal lines, ethnic lines. We are still doing the very things that made Rwanda to suffer what it suffered. So in this situation, we must be asking ourselves, are there lessons to be learned from Paul Kagame? Regardless of the fact that majority of people see him as a dictator or an authoritarian leader or whatnot, but I don't think it's any different from our president. The only difference is that he has used his authoritarian rule for development and for nationalistic events.
Right, yeah.
He's been very patriotic. He has led the country and the whole lot of them to be patriotic, nationalistic towards the Rwandan cause. And they have all accepted it. That's how come I think Rwanda is such a success story. If we say that Uganda doesn't have the natural resources, I think one of the main things that it has, apart from tourism, is its people.
Well,
because if you have a people that are willing and accept that we were once enemies, but today we have decided to be friends, we have decided to be family, we've decided to look after each other, to build a country that the next generation will be proud of, then you have a good human resource. That is your biggest resource. When we look at education, I read somewhere that he changed the public system, the education system, by virtually doing up the whole public schools and making them so attractive that international schools went out of business. Now, what stops us from doing same? We are rather encouraging international schools and bringing down our public schools. I've read also that he has been able to change villages into mini towns. That, for me, is a leader who is thinking about his people. He's not just thinking about himself. So if he should get 99%, it's not surprising. The 1% that might be in opposition are probably those that feel that they've got Western education and are more like puppets to the West. That's the way I see it. as Ghanaians, we should be asking ourselves questions. If a country can come out of such a deplorable state, a genocide, killing of people, and be able to lift itself out, not by virtue of anything, but just forgiveness. Let us forgive each other. We should ask ourselves, why can't we do same? Why should we still be having UGCC hanging over CPP? Why should it be that Kwame Nkrumah should be so detested because he comes from a different party or a different, or Zama or whatever? I don't think that is good for us. These are the things that are still holding us back as Ghanaians. So, and virtually as Africans, because the same story tells in Nigeria, the same story tells in other parts of Africa. It's always the tribal, the ethnic, religious, and whatnot. That's what's dividing us. And for any man, any president to come out and say, churches are a nuisance, churches are doing this, before you preach, you must be educated in church business. It tells you that that person has his head screwed on right. So, I am looking at Rwanda as a case study. For everybody, for all of us, we should start speaking more about Rwanda. We should start asking ourselves, is it good for us to go there and experience it like you have experienced?
Yeah.
Because somebody tells you that you can even sit in the gutters and eat in Rwanda.
Oh, yeah.
But at one time in this country, Ghana, we used to do same. Why can't we do that? So Rwanda is a success story that Africa needs to study, all of us.
One of the things that, or one of the driving factors is the abolishing of chieftaincy institutions. And whether we like it or not, till today, I don't understand why Kwame Nkrumah allowed chiefs to still operate. Because we are so, and that thing about ethnicity and tribalism is born out of people's commitment to their chiefs, over commitment to their chiefs, right? And the chiefs also taking advantage of, for instance, right now, look at the kind of politics we are doing. Right now, a chief has to endorse a presidential candidate before the presidential candidate will think that they have arrived, right?
Yeah.
Right now, if you're a presidential candidate and you go to a particular region, you are forced, even if you do not wish to do so, to visit a chief's palace to seek some bless. I don't understand it, right? But Paul Kagame, knowing that it was the chiefs who drove that agenda for the massacre to happen, when he took over, he disbanded all of that. Okay?
Yeah.
And erased all these chieftaincy institutions because, they were just inciting people. We are this, we are that. And right now it is simmering, down into our own political culture. And that has the potency of derailing the gains that we have made as a nation. So I don't understand why we are still, because you see, the things that they are freely doing the things they are doing. Kagame is freely doing the things he's doing because people will not unnecessarily oppose the things that he's doing, especially when he knows that he has a blueprint and has a roadmap that he's following. So, also, I wanted to touch on that. Because I went to the villages. They took me to the biggest palace in Rwanda. I was in Nyanza. That's where my school was. And even that, we would still have that conversation, where all the better schools now are in the outskirts.
Yeah.
So that development will catch up.
Exactly.
So it's a strategy. But we went to one of the biggest palaces in Rwanda. And it was just there. They use it now for cattle rearing. There's no chief, there's nothing. So you are for the country. Now people are saying this state, this kingdom, this. We live in a country where we are governed by a national constitution that says that we are Ghanaians. We are a republican state, which means that all kingdoms, all states, or whatever it is, are extinct. The chiefs there are there for ceremonial purposes. And to also recognize that sometime in the history of this country, there were chiefs who played a pivotal role in the journey to development. But right now, it appears that we are allowing that chieftaincy system to overshadow the constitutional imperatives that we should have as a people to govern and rule us and to guide our path going into the future. And I'm very passionate about this. Juxtaposing the Rwanda situation to the Ghanaian situation. And I don't like how these chiefs are parading themselves and you know, I have a chief in my I'll speak my mind.
You know,
that is nice. When they dance is nice. That's all they should be doing.
No, but
I know that's all they should be doing.
but
It's ceremonial. They should not have anything to do with politics and governance.
Exactly. And let's just look at it. When did it really start? I know the
Not
fact.
recently. When did was in
That's
power?
what
They
I'm
have done this
saying.
process.
So times come with those things, because Kwame Nkrumah at the time of independence had a problem with it. You know it.
Yeah, of course.
Historically,
Yes.
the British and the Ashanti Kingdom. That was it. And for someone wanting independence, he decided to say, okay, let it be. But our problem is that we are running a two-race system where we now say that the one region is a gold mine for a particular party. And therefore, if you look at it, I am out to say that the issue of chieftaincy being what it is today just came recently. It's not something that we've gotten to know in our body politic. So I asked myself, I said, what can we do? I have asked myself this question so many times, and I came up with just one solution. I said, it's about time we sort of like divided Ashanti
I agree.
into different regions, just like we did the northern region. After all, we had one northern region. And at that time, when you heard Yana or you heard the Nayiri, it was powerful. But we were able to sit and let them divide us into smaller units, making us almost useless. So why do we sit and let Ashanti be just one Ashanti? It should also be divided. We must also look at a constitution that would come out with a statement that you cannot win and rule a people just from two regions. It shouldn't be. We must have at least 2/3 or half of the country. So if we are 16 regions, it doesn't make sense for us to always say that
Two regions will determine the fate of 16 regions.
fate of the rest
No,
of
that's
us.
a very important point you've made.
We can't do that.
That's a very important
So
point.
if anything, let's divide Ashanti as well. I'm sure we can have all kinds of, whether it's a Bantamai being another place being one region or whatever, by numbers, of course. We can do that. So that in the next government must be able, through the referendum, to change in the constitution. You cannot rule this country by winning two regions. It is not done anyway. So that every time it is because one particular group is at a particular place and happen to be a world bank of a particular party, and therefore they have the opportunity to rule us, making the rest of us look bad. It shouldn't be. So we should look at that critically and make sure that you should win more than two regions to be a president or whatever. Chieftaincy is good. Chieftaincy is not supposed to be political. As a chief, you're supposed to be an embodiment for all the people. You're supposed to think about the development of your people and then to support your people. But it doesn't give you the right to indulge in politics. If you want to do politics, you leave. That's what the Constitution says. Yeah. But of late, we are not doing that. I ask myself, why should we go and greet a particular chief?
Why?
Why do we always, it's like we've made it a norm now that we must greet a particular chief to be recognized. Everybody runs to the same chief. Everywhere, everybody's running to the same chief. And you're asking yourself, why? What happened to my chief?
It is born out of what you said.
Yes.
About having one Ashanti region.
It's one, yes, one Ashanti region. When they are dividing regions, I was saying, well, if they are talking about mass, land mass and things, Ashanti is there. Why aren't they dividing it? Why are they dividing other people? We shouldn't have that. So we should insist that you cannot rule this country with just two regions. That means two ethnic groups ruling the rest of us. It's not fair. So if it's 2/3, you should be able to get some from the northern regions, from the upper east regions, take some from the bottom. You must win certain regions to be able to, you know, to be able to govern. So these are the things. But with Kagame, he was smart because he saw, he read, he's seen the damage that chieftaincy does to other countries.
Absolutely.
And it's not just in Ghana, it's even in Nigeria. You know, when you get to northern Nigeria, the chiefs are so strong and all that. You get to other places. Chieftaincy is one of the things that is actually worrying us in this country. But in Ghana in particular, it is not every chief. It's not every chief. My northern chiefs, I don't hear them. They don't have any power in it over anybody. But in this situation, everybody goes, we are all going to Asante. We must go there and pay homage. And then today, it's Achimhene. We have to go to Achimhene to also pay homage. So that, why is it that when even assuming, Bamia is from Northeast, he goes to look for blessings from Asante before he can become a leader. Are you an Ashanti? Do you come from that royal family? So why is that particular chief so important to you? He's not supposed to be dabbling in politics anyway. So these are the questions that we must be asking ourselves. And we might ask ourselves, we might debate this issue, but it is left to the chief himself to take himself out of politics, to live above politics. Those are the things, and we must tell him sometime.
I agree. 100% agree.
Because we didn't hear that from, I don't think it was the same with Opokuwari.
No.
It wasn't the same with Opokuwari. So why now? So we have to interrogate this issue very well.
Well, brilliant submission. You're still watching the News for Every segment here on Pan-African Television with me, KWAME OWUSU. So let me remind you that you may want to contribute to the conversation today, but if you want to do that, you can do so via our WhatsApp number or our text number. Also, we are on Facebook and on YouTube, so kindly share your views with that. Let me come to you, my brother Hamza, on this subject matter. Look at it from, all the holistic angles that you may want to look at it from.
Good morning to you, and of course to my colleague panelists, and most importantly to your cherished viewers out there. KWAME, you see, to effectively appreciate what is happening in Rwanda today, one is tempted to go back to history in terms of the time Ghana became president under Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. And the missed opportunity since then Ghana got. And I still believe that we still have the opportunity to, provided that we decide from today onwards that we are going to take a different path. I say that a missed opportunity because today, whether we like it or not, Rwanda is a shining star in Africa. Unfortunately, the trajectory Rwanda is on is exposing many African countries, especially the bigger ones. And I make direct reference to Nigeria and that of Ghana. If you look at our political history, from colonialism to independence and to modern day Ghana or Africa, you would agree with me that Ghana stood an important opportunity under President Kwame Nkrumah to have led the entire African continent on not just economic emancipation, but to a very large extent, leading the path in terms of modernization. Because, why do I say that? We're dealing with a continent that had so many challenges. And anytime you are dealing with a continent or a country with so many challenges, it simply means that that particular continent or country has the clearest opportunity to start the modern path to development. Today, the entire world is talking about energy transition. After independence, Ghana had that golden opportunity. We did not take advantage of that. And so for me, I think that there's the need for us to reflect as a continent and think deeply about what is happening in Rwanda. As for the human rights concerns, look, we will not sit around this table and pretend that there are no issues of human rights in Rwanda. As I speak with you today, even in the United States of America, there are issues of human rights. In the United Kingdom, there are issues of human rights. You simply cannot nip that in the bud. But you need to come out with legislation to confront some of these things. And for me, that is where we are as a country. If you look at Paul Kagame, the journey that he has been on, as far as Rwanda is concerned, is highly commendable. But when it comes to the role of chiefs, I think that it was for a reason that after independence, Kwame Nkrumah was quite reluctant to make drastic changes in that regard. Because, mind you, we were bestriding a threshold. We're torn in between abandoning our cultural underpinnings that possibly would model a certain democracy to fit the African continent, and also adopting wholesale what we were being told to adopt by our colonial masters. So there was that confusion. And so the whole of Africa at that time was bestriding a threshold. Because any attempt during that time to wipe away our chieftaincy institutions would have been seen in his words as a neocolonialist agenda to annihilate the African continent and our traditions. So we needed to understand where Nkrumah was coming from. But the question today is whether those institutions are still relevant. This is a debate we all can have. I have my reservations. I doubt if they are still relevant. But is there a way we can gradually phase it out of our body politics? Yes, it is possible, without necessarily making it unconstitutional. Because as we speak today, it is embedded in our constitution under Article 274 of the 1992 Constitution. We have emboldened it by even going into Parliament to come out with the Chieftaincy Act to regulate their operations. Quite apart from that, they have been given instrumental roles in the administration of our lands in this country. So even if you look at proceeds that we generate from lands, they have a role to play in that regard. So they are part of the governance architecture of Ghana. Now, we are at a stage where we are concerned about their role as far as our development trajectory is concerned. And that is why I'm saying that we have reached a stage where we need to have a holistic debate around their role in politics. But you see, I doubt that is the solution. Clearly declaring it unconstitutional, wiping it off, I don't think that is the way to go at this moment. You see, we are undermining the power of education in Africa. And that is unfortunately our challenge as a people. Look, if we are able to take our education seriously and ensure that the teachers and lecturers in our various institutions are actually empowered to deliver, be rest assured that in no time these chieftaincy institutions will become irrelevant in our body politics. Because people will begin to appreciate that when it comes to national development, it goes beyond tribalism. It goes beyond ethnicity. But then again, wiping it off doesn't necessarily mean that you are wiping off tribal lineages. And as we speak today, even in the United States of America, decisions are still being taken based on state basis and the history of those states. But they don't have any chieftaincy institution. So for me, I think that it boils down to a holistic educational program. You are talking about dividing Ashanti region. I don't see how dividing it will solve the problem. For administrative purposes, yes. Because if you divide the region, they are close to it. It's just like northeast and northern region. We may have been divided. The Yana now sits as the overlord of northern region. The Naire now sits as the overlord of northeast region. But if you look at our political trajectory, when the votes come, until recently when Baume emerged from the northeast region, the dynamics will still be the same. So what you have done, if you divide Ashanti now without actually confronting the root causes, what you are effectively doing is to create 2 or 3 regions out of it and still give those 2 or 3 regions out of Ashanti region to determine the political landscape of this country, who becomes president. Because it will largely be occupied by the people. But if we are intentional about our developmental trajectory and decide to position certain developmental projects in certain aspects of the country, there's the tendency that we'll be able to disperse the population in certain centers. Because you have people moving from Ashanti region to, say, Western region to work and stay there. You are likely to have people moving from Ashanti region to, say, Northern region, Northeast, Upper East, name them. So we must be intentional about our developmental journey. Dividing Ashanti region would not solve that political problem. I doubt if it will. It will not solve that political problem. I hope so. I pray that it does, but I don't see it. Because, you see, the issue is about ethnicity. And, sorry for that. The issue is about ethnicity. And there's the need for us to appreciate that. It's just like coming to Northern region, Dagbon, and dividing Northern region into 2 Northern. We are Dagombes. Any direction we decide to vote in elections, we are going to go that same way, despite the fact that we are 2 different regions. So if we are truly concerned about their role politically, then there is the need for us to look at the developmental agenda to disperse that role or to water its effects down. But one important point that we must not lose sight of in Rwanda is that just for the purposes of information, my brother, it is not accurate that they don't have any natural resource. They do. But this is the irony. They have their mining sector, which is about the second largest contributor to GDP. But interestingly, do you know which one is the first contributor? Tourism.
Okay, so that's the point of departure. That is why they have an issue with Congo. Because the argument is that there is a place called Kivu, K-I-V-U, that is a mining area. And then the argument or the contention is that Paul Kagame has sent some Rwandan troops who are in Kivu and are fighting together with the Congolese separatist forces, and they are stealing the gold from Congo and then bringing it to Rwanda. So they don't really have.
No, but see, I am just making this submission based on the official records of the government.
Okay.
But I'm telling you that even whichever way you look at it, it is still commendable.
No, I get your point.
In the light that, look, they have the mining sector, but they have still managed to make tourism the most attractive sector in Rwanda. Ghana has that opportunity. Quite recently, Nkrumah was voted as African of the Millennium on BBC. We have the W.E. Du Bois Center that has, have been informed that it has been sold.
For 50 years.
Yes, it's been sold by this government. Then we have the KWAME Nkrumah Museum. We deceived ourselves that we're going to launch what we call, did they call it a hero?
We are not even talking about improvements elsewhere.
Exactly. So, people travel into this country to come and have first, and even the Cape Coast Castle.
Yeah.
People travel into this country to come and see what is happening in this country, what we have turned those assets into. So, in terms of tourism, Ghana is again positioned to take advantage of that sector. But we have not lived up to expectation. And for me, that is my disappointment. And you cannot blame one government for that failure. To be honest, to be fair to each and every one of the leaders that we've had since independence. But the question we need to ask ourselves, are we going to continue on that trajectory? Because Ghana, I've always made that point. Look, we have stable democracy in Ghana. Quite stable. We were the first in Africa to become an independent nation. Strategically positioned. It is not surprising that you see the United States of America and the European Union struggling to have some measured control over the activities in Ghana and not Nigeria. Because they know that in order for you to penetrate the African continent, you need a credible partner. And that credible partner, as we speak today, is Ghana. How have we positioned ourselves to take advantage of that particular role? And that was the reason why Nkrumah joined the non-aligned movement. Because he understood that Ghana occupied a strategic position, and that to be able to leverage the Western powers and the Eastern Bloc to develop, one needed to take that position in the interest of the country. So, for me, it is an embarrassment. What is happening in Rwanda, though commendable as far as the African continent is concerned, but it is an embarrassment to most African countries, and especially Ghana and Nigeria. Because if you look at the economic size of Nigeria and their population, and you look at what is happening in this country too, clearly, you would realize that there is so much that needs to be done for Africa to also be counted once more. And we have that potential. And that has been the position some of us hold. And I think that it is a position all political parties must begin to drift towards. How can we all work together in a harmonious fashion to ensure that we present the African continent in a fashion that will make it competitive globally?
All right, thank you very much. I think that's brilliant, but the challenge with culture and the over-reliance on it is what creates divisions. And the divisiveness is what leads to lack of development and growth. And that is why I was extremely happy, and Rich, I'm coming to you, when President Mahama, when he met with the press, in his presentation, made mention of the fact that he's going to ensure that we bring back that Ghanaianness, that unity that we've always held on to. Because it appears that we've, over the period, been sharply divided, particularly under this MPP regime. And I had also the opportunity to sit on Pan-African television on Ama Pra's show, where I highlighted, even before President Mahama said, that the challenge for me is our inability to unite as Ghanaians. And so, whenever you ask me, where are you from? I say, I'm Ghanaian. And that is exactly what is happening in Rwanda. I promise you, in Rwanda, you can't go and say, I am Tutsi or never. You'll be arrested. You'll be arrested. You are Rwandan. That's it. You are Rwandan. Just that maybe you live in northern province. Someone lives in southern province. Yes, it's province. So that's it. But apart from that, you can't say I'm Tutsi. Even if you go and say it, the people themselves will beat you. Do you understand what I'm saying? But in Ghana, oh, Sekrum, oh, Mifi Dagomba, and I'm going to say Dagomba, Mifi Hohoi, Mifi Jessica, you know, and because everybody wants to make their tribe and their ethnic groupings feel important, they hold on to it. They want their ethnic groupings to have some pride of place, you know, within this political architecture. And that is what is fundamentally creating the cracks that we're experiencing now. And that is why there's some lack of development even in other regions, so that we are focusing so much on some particular regions by reason of the fact that we want to win political power. And therefore our attention, our focus, and things. I today still don't understand why northern region, whole of the northern region, when you are flying and you are descending, you see vast lands there, unused, and we can't develop it and make it like Dubai. I don't understand it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So maybe we can also look at that in discussing the other issues. Also, let's look at the issue about unity and the fact that the divisiveness that we're experiencing is born out of our over-reliance on our ethnic and tribal, groupings. That's essentially how I perceive it. I may be wrong, but yeah.
And that's how come this geopolitics is not.
Absolutely.
How come because when you get to Rwanda, I bet it's just Paul Kagame and the others, which we hardly hear, because they have recognized themselves as one people.
One people, yeah.
And that is how come we of the alliance are also saying, Ghanaians, it's time to be one people. Left and right together, we can make this country better. You understand? Because at the end of the day, we're just talking about it. When I said that, let me just answer this about the breakages of Ashanti. If you put a broom together, they're very strong. Ashanti is very strong because they're all in one. No matter, forget about the ethnicity and whatnot. Even today, there are some chiefs who are not very happy maybe with the things that Asante does. But because they owe their allegiance to him, they are forced to kowtow. If you break it into regions, some people will also strengthen themselves up. That hold will no longer probably be so strong. That's how it is, possibly. Because you're looking at the Soviet Union. You're looking at the broken Soviet Union as compared to the USSR that we knew of ancient past. It's not the same anymore. So once you have one group in one pot, it's strength. Break them up, and everybody starts building up their own importance and their own abilities. That's the way it goes.
I appreciate that.
So as for this duopoly, if we want to get a united Ghana, we must break the duopoly.
Makes sense. You see, we must also not lose sight of what is happening currently, even between Ashanti region and Boahafo. There are still chiefs within Boahafo region, which is not part of Ashanti region, who owe and demonstrate allegiance to the Ashanti Hine. You understand? That's why I'm saying that. But I appreciate that concern.
But the allegiance to the Ashanti Hine will not translate. It's just a traditional setting that is meant to operate. It doesn't necessarily mean that the people in that region will necessarily vote for.
No. You see,
that's essentially
there are
what it is.
still people within Ashanti region who are Ashantis who don't vote for the NPP. But unfortunately, majority of them do. You see, I want us to be quite careful about the trend of this discussion, so that we don't come across as people who are against a certain ethnic group in this country. Because we are driving an agenda to rally all of us around alliance.
No, that is wrong. That assertion is wrong. Hold on.
No. You see,
how many regions determine the political fate of this nation? How many regions?
There are 16 right now.
Hold on. How many regions determine? I'm not saying how many regions vote. How many? 2 regions. Where are those regions?
Good. You see, I said that we must be careful. I'm not saying that is what we're doing. Let's see, because I know people are watching us.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why I'm very careful about my words.
They are also deciding.
Yes. That's why I'm very careful about my words. I know we are not. I know we are engaged in dispassionate analysis, but we know that people are watching us. And they can draw certain conclusions from our conduct.
So that's their problem.
No, but you see, we owe it to our viewers to let them appreciate that this discussion we are having is geared towards making the whole better. That is Ghana. And it also has emotional undertones. So that's why I'm saying that, look, let us engage in a holistic debate as to the relevance of, first of all, the chieftaincy institution. Let us engage as to whether indeed trying to break that political monopoly, an effective tool would be to divide the region into 2. And I've given you examples where we have even Abroa Ahafo and Ashanti region, but some chiefs still consider themselves as part of the ethnic grouping of the Ashanti kingdom. And so you may not effectively get that needed resource. And you made references to the fact that we are dealing with the population there. What can we do economically to more or less disperse that population?
That's one aspect of the discussion.
Exactly.
But it's not the only.
It's not the only solution. No, I agree.
But then again, you see how you even.
I think
it's your time, but you see how you even describe the Ashanti region. You said Ashanti Kingdom. Anyway, proceed.
I think it's my turn.
Yeah, but it's wrong. That's what I'm telling you. You are a lawyer. The constitution, yes, there's no kingdom in Ghana. We are a republican state.
But there's no kingdom in the constitution.
Yes,
I agree.
Yes.
That's what the constitution was. But we also refer to ourselves.
But it's wrong.
But
you know better. Because that is my problem. And I'm saying that until we get to a point where...
Well, I think it's my time.
Proceed.
You are not part of
me and Hamza, we don't.
You are not part of the discussion.
Me and Hamza, we are. No. It's not. I need to set the tone.
No, yeah, but it's
Proceed.
my time. You see, I think that Paul Kagame may have read 2 people, their notes, Lee Kuan Yew and Kwame Nkrumah. That's true. Because basically, looking at what he's doing and how he's going about his things, trying to detribalize Rwanda, was exactly what Lee Kuan Yew did. And so you have a Singapore that is tribeless, even though there are a lot of Indians and Chinese and the Malays in Rwanda and in Singapore. They don't identify themselves with those groupings that they belong to, and they live close to each other. They are more neighbors with persons from the other grouping than they are with themselves. So, and that has worked for them. Singapore, like Rwanda, didn't have a lot of resources. It was basically a forgotten state. It was a forgotten state, especially when it was abandoned by Malaysia and others. And then Lee Kuan Yew basically built it from the scratch, nothing. And today Singapore is one of the most important port cities globally. And so you would realize that there was a deliberate effort to position Singapore within the port activity and then build the economy from there. Rwanda basically identified their strength also and knew that looking at their landscape, they could build the country after it's been burnt to ashes through the tribal war by first detribalizing Rwanda and then focusing on where their strength is, that is tourism, and building the country alongside tourism. But that didn't just happen. People were trained. So when you sit in a taxi, the taxi driver understands clearly what is it that he has to do. So everybody is an ambassador and understands the system. And so a taxi driver will not just pick you and cheat you because you are a foreigner, but will rather be of assistance to you in order that you will see the best of the country. Now, if you want to position tourism, it means that you need to get people within the country to themselves understand what you have in terms of tourist potential in your country, in order that they will be relevant in the drive to make tourism attractive to persons who come. And then the reception that is available. The transport system would have to be properly built in order that people would be able to assess what tourism potential you have. Let's assume you even decide to go to, what is this park? Where we have the walkway, KWAME National Park. From Cape Coast to KWAME, look at the road network. So if you want to build tourism and you have such road network, when you even go to Cape Coast and you ask people to tell you about the KWAME National Park, they have very little ideas about the KWAME National Park. If we want to leverage on our history and culture, how many people understand the culture and the history of their own people? We have not made that deliberate attempt to imbue that knowledge in the small children right from school to understand the setting. Probably you don't need to discuss chieftaincy. You need to make it an issue of tourism. And if that is what you want to do, let's use the Ashanti chief as the base. That's the Menchia Palace, as probably as our biggest tourist attraction. How have we positioned it beyond the influence and all that? Because people hear about it. People may want to go to the Buckingham Palace. It doesn't mean that there are no other palaces in Europe. The Spaniards have the king. We saw him at the Danish do. When you go to Italy, the palace in Rome is so big. You understand? But then the British had positioned the Buckingham Palace and everything about it such that it looks more like it is the only situation where you have a monarchy that reigns globally. It is how it is positioned. So yes, it could be Ashanti Kingdom, it is already properly positioned. As a country, how are we positioning it such that it becomes relevant and that people may want to travel? They may not even have access into the palace, but anybody who goes to London may want to just walk around the Buckingham Palace to see where it is and how it's positioned. How are we positioning our chieftaincy institution for it to be relevant to our tourism attraction? We are not doing that. You see, the issue of being an Ashanti or being a Ga, to me, was dealt with under Nkrumah's boarding house system. I would not say, as I sit here, that I'm a Ga, even though my dad is a Ga. My mom is half Fanti from South Pond and half Ikwapim. So, where do I... Because the South Pond people may not recognize me because my mom's dad comes from South Pond. But my mother's mother people recognize me because my mother's mother comes from Ikwapim. And so I am duly recognized there as a native. The Gans recognize me because my dad comes from there, so I'm duly recognized as a Gan. So that body, and my children are non-Gans themselves because their mothers are not Gans. So the issue here is that we need to identify that we have become one country because there are Northerners who are married to Ashantis. And when you go to Kumasi today, there are a lot of places. I heard you have Agnon in Ashanti. I went to a place and I saw Quarter Street in Kumasi. So it means that we have already broken that barrier. You go to OWUSU, you have OWUSU Alata, you have OWUSU Aneho, and all of those places. You have OWUSU Bubula, which means that other tribes had settled in there. So, you see, we don't need to overflog that issue. Probably
we are overflogging it because it is resurfacing.
No, you see, probably what we need to do is to look at how we conduct our politics and not how the chiefs conduct themselves.
Let me draw attention to something respectfully. Let me draw attention to something, and you can maybe touch on that as well. You see how right now religion is becoming an issue in our political discourse. It didn't used to be like that. Right now, people are campaigning on the basis of religion. And that is why I'm saying that it is resurfacing.
That's why I'm also saying that, you see, it is how the politicians, because look at the way the TUC rose and positioned themselves. They cowed everybody. You get it? So it is how we are conducting the politics, because if we decide that we need to go and greet every chief, and that if we get a candidate from the north, we should get one who is an Akan. If we get a Ga candidate, we should get one who is an Asante. And so even if there are persons who are better positioned, better positioned to be a candidate because they do not belong to a certain tribe, once one candidate is coming from here, the others are minorities. So get somebody from the majority to partner. Meanwhile, in most instances, the voters may not even be looking at that.
Yes.
You get it? Yes. In most instances, the voters, because you see, Aka was not an Asante. He was former President Rawlings' running mate, and they won. Prof. Mills is a Fanti, not an Asante. They won. For Prof. Mills is not an Asante. He won with GM. So that alone tells you that you don't really need an Asante combination to be able to win votes in the Asante region. Yes, they sway towards a certain political ideology because they have a history. They have a history with Bafo Akoto and the Matimihu group. That history that we've not been able to properly deal with. And that history have been woven into a certain political fabric that makes it look like this is our own and we need to protect it. How do we break that? In order that we have a system that allows persons to be able to win elections from across board. Probably we may have to go with Rawlings' suggestion that we need to look at an electoral college style of thing like the US system, where you need to win a certain number of states, you need to win a certain number of regions to be properly elected to be president. In such circumstances, you may not have one region or two regions determining who becomes the president. And I feel I will go with such suggestion without necessarily breaking into the tribal things or any other thing. Let's look at it. To be president, you needed to be accepted by the majority of the voters and the majority of the regions. And so it means that...
But you see, but that argument will be flawed because the majority of the voters will not necessarily translate to the majority of the regions.
So I said majority of the voters and the majority of the regions.
So it means that we can never have a president.
You see? No,
we can never have a president.
No, we will.
Because if you are saying majority of the voters, respectfully, then it means that the numbers may necessarily come from two regions, right? But the majority of the regions will be all 16 regions. MPP may have, let's say, the numbers in the Ashanti region. If they even get 85%, they've won the elections, right? But NDC may have majority of the regions. In 2020, that's exactly what happened.
And so say majority of the voters and the majority of the region. So if you are not able to get that, you go in for a re-election.
But that's
No.
the challenge.
That's the challenge, yeah.
Kwame is talking about.
Yeah.
Because if you implement it in that light, there's the tendency where you have the NDC, say, winning majority of the regions, but having, in terms of numbers, having less numbers as compared with the MPP, which wins Ashanti region and has more votes. So in that scenario, who do you declare the president? Do you declare the person with majority of regions but with fewer votes president? Or the one with one region but with majority of the votes?
One way or the other, we need to find out
middle ground.
how to deal.
Yeah, so you see,
we may not be able to have the solution here. We probably may have to look at it again, where at least you know that you are elected and that you are fairly represented as a president.
But this is an important start.
Yeah, because you see,
This is an important start. What I've actually brought forward is an important
the
start.
challenge here is that when you are elected by a narrower regions, and like people keep asking, what has the MPP done for the Ashanti region? Nobody cares what they've done in any other region, because people believe that it's Ashanti region that made the MPP win power. And then the voters also keep asking, when we vote for the NDC, what do they do for our region? Because it distorts development.
Precisely, and that's the fear that I expressed.
So there should
That's
be
the fear that I expressed.
So there should be a way of having a development blueprint that is devoid of which region elects you, but that is carried through. Because, you see, it's also made our politics very, very expensive. When I become a parliamentary candidate in the Volta region for NDC, I'm as good as being elected as a member of parliament. And when I become a parliamentary candidate, except for Asawasi and 2 other places in the Ashanti region, I'm as good as having been elected on the ticket of MPP, I'm as good as having been elected to parliament. So it doesn't matter whether I have the capabilities to represent the people in parliament. If I am able to buy majority of the voters at the electoral college to vote for me to be the candidate, I'm in parliament.
And you see, that brings us, that brings us to the architecture and the political administration of the political parties themselves. And that's why we have to look at this problem holistically. You realize that when it comes to the selection of candidates, there's a vetting process. So even the political parties themselves must play a critical role in terms of giving us credible candidates and reliable people to, first of all, go and present to the people for a choice to be made.
Council, let me... You see, what is the measure that the Constitution puts up for one to be a member of Parliament? You must be 21 years.
Yes.
And a few...
Sound mind.
There's nothing like educational criteria or anything.
True.
There's nothing... So what measure will the political parties put up? The person is 21 years. He has no criminal record. He's not been charged or for treasonable offense or... you understand?
Yeah, but
so
that's what the political parties have.
Exactly. The whole constitution makes provision for the political parties to come out with their own constitution. And I'm telling you that.
But you see, the whatever constitution you come up with, once it conflicts,
it doesn't. What we have now actually doesn't. What is the problem? Is the perceived failure of political parties to adhere to the very principles their own constitutions espouse.
That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I want to be a member of parliament. I have no record.
No, you have to go through vetting.
No, I'm going through vetting to show that I'm a member
so
of
the vetting,
good standing.
And your party tells you that we have assessed you in this life.
You have
realized that you don't have the integrity. You have realized that you are not competent enough. We have realized that if you want, you go and contest as independent candidates. That way, because they would have communicated to the Ghanaian people that per our standards, this gentleman is not qualified to be a parliamentary.
I think we should
on the ticket of our party.
You see, the bar is the constitution.
No, you see, when it comes, you see, it is not the constitution alone. You see, the constitution is the very body that created the political parties.
For political parties, you must be a member of good standing.
Yes.
Generally.
Yes.
You must be a member of good standing.
Yes.
What I'm saying is that I have no treasonable record. I have no record.
So I'm going to ask you a very simple question. If the NDC does its vetting and concludes that Hamza Sohin is not qualified per our party rules to lead or to be the member of parliament for Tamale South or Tamale North or Tamale Central, whichever, then I go to court. You are indirectly telling me that they can ratify me and say that I'm qualified.
That's why the court has ticket. That's why the court has adjudicatory powers over decisions made by your party, because
I can only challenge those decisions. Exactly. The Constitution empowers me to challenge those decisions.
The issue is that look at the qualification criteria, even in the political, apart from being a member of good standing. Which other we have this issue?
The Constitution gives you the broad architecture.
That a member of somebody is elected to be had impregnated the secretary's wife, and so was. Questions have been raised as to whether that was basis enough. Even though
so you can go to court and the court can conclude that it's not basis.
When you impregnate, you see, it's not in the party's constitution that when you impregnate. If it was in the party's constitution, I bet you, no court would have
unless of course it conflicted with any other provision in the constitution.
Someone's asked me to clarify something.
Okay.
So when you finish.
What is even the measure?
Clarify and then we'll proceed to
that the political parties themselves are using.
Okay.
You understand? These moral standards that we are talking about don't have any space in the political party's constitution.
All right.
The main thing there is that you must be a member of good standing.
Okay. Let's proceed. Let's proceed. 9:24. The program ends at 10.
This one happens in the good standing. If you take one, we say you must be of good standing. It doesn't mean that good standing in relation to the constitutional provisions. It is a political party. When we talk of good standing, we are referring to your social standing. We are referring to issues of morality. We are referring to issues of corruption.
But let me conclude. Let me conclude on this.
Let me just clarify something about the division of the Ashanti region that I said.
Why people have misquoted you?
No, someone just said, at the end of the day, dividing Ashanti is not a bad thing. It brings better development for them as well.
I agree.
You understand? Because as of now, everything is in Kumasi, so they will come out and say nobody has done anything for us. You get me? So if we have divided a whole northern region because of development, I don't see why we cannot divide.
But Volta region was divided because of development.
And so Ashanti can be divided because of development. That way they will get development.
Now, I see one important point again. In terms of the division of the northern region and Volta region, remember that the very same people made it a political issue and demanded. I'm coming. And demanded. So we must. You see, I'm telling you that we need to iron out the teething problems if indeed we want to go on this tangent of dividing regions. Remember in the Upper West region, it was they came demanding a region. Savannah region came demanding a region. Northeast came demanding a region. So if we put it in perspective, the question is, how have we handled Ashanti? For a chunk of them to also come demanding region from the political powers that can easily be given. Because now if you go in there like that.
So I'm saying that dividing Ashanti is not saying that we don't like Ashanti.
No, it doesn't.
We're only saying that even
it's in their interest that
they should be divided. And they still have their chief anyway, or their whatever. You understand? So and if you look at it,
the person said what?
No, the person was just asking. And when I said that we should divide Ashanti, I should make them know that it is not that we are against Ashanti, but it's just that dividing them.
Why would anybody be against Ashanti?
We'll get more regions, more development.
That was what I was trying to
more development.
You see,
whether we like it or not.
Hamza, hold on.
No, everybody's afraid of talking about Ashanti. I don't know why.
No, it's not fear.
Let's have. You see, one of the reasons why we have. Hold on, Hamza, hold on. One of the reasons why we have judges and senior citizens in this country watching the morning show every morning is because we speak the truth. Okay. And because we bring issues for discussions. What we are doing here, is to bring issues out. And those issues, you never know. Maybe the suggestion that you've put forward will be a suggestion that will find expression in somebody's manifesto that will lead to some significant change in this country. So we speak not because we think that we are right or wrong. We speak because we want to just provoke the conversation. And that conversation must be had. And I'm saying that this thing about describing regions as kingdoms is quite nauseating.
It can be.
It is very nauseating. And how, that is being even promoted and being projected up. Why? I lived in Asante Mampong. I lived in Asante Mampong. I'm from Elmina. I'm from Oti region. I lived, grew up, played football in Kumapem, Asante Mampong. Do you understand what I'm saying? I love the Ashanti culture. I love it. It's beautiful. We all grew up there. We have, families there. But the thing is that we are in a republican state. Sometimes when you do not have the benefit of education, you can make such errors. But when you have the benefit of education, you need to begin to put out the right information so that the people who are growing up, people who are learning, who are in schools, will begin to learn the right things and appreciate it and learn. That's why yesterday I started reading a book on Osajifo Dr. KWAME Nkrumah by way of education. Because right now a lot of people are not, privy to most of the information that we have. So that is why we are bringing these things. So it's not because we hate Ashanti region or because we hate the chief in Ashanti. No. And again, strangely, I lived in Ashanti region and I lived in the eastern region.
And you see,
I lived in Ashanti.
Exactly. So
this again should be a wake-up call to all of us.
Yeah.
You see,
that is even a problem that we are discussing it.
Exactly.
Do you understand? It should not be a problem.
I'll get there.
We should be able to openly discuss it.
Mixes. You see, and that was why I raised the red flags from the onset.
Oh dear.
If you look at policy, an important element of policy is communication, especially when you are mooting the idea. And even when you are dealing with communication, an important ingredient of that communication is who starts that communication.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, myself and you are disadvantaged. Our nation is already polarized.
Exactly.
When we start demanding that Ashanti region should be divided, even based on sound policy grounds, they would not go onto the issues, the substance of the arguments we are making. They are likely to go into our backgrounds. If Kwame comes from Ashanti and is on this panel and demanding that Ashanti should be divided, the spectacle is going to be totally different.
But are you not Ghanaian?
You see, but that is what I want to get to. That whether we like it or not, this country is already polarized along those lines. They don't ask the question. We have to. But how do we? Do we stop it by degenerating the discourse?
How is no?
So how be strategic? Come. Please.
Okay,
if you allow, you get
proceed.
I think that we have to be strategic in any move to change that course. We cannot adopt a radical stance. And that's why I'm saying that if indeed we are serious about it, let us have a national discourse. If any government is serious about it, the government has the machinery to assemble people who will make such submissions, and it will not be given that ethnic undertones, and will actually be dealt with in accordance with policy principles. And for me, that is my concern. I understand her. I agree fully that Ashanti region needs to be divided. I agree fully that it will be in their interest, and yet there will still be Ashantis. It will be in their interest, but I am restrained at this moment from demanding same, largely because of my background. Because if I do so now, the very situation I wanted to avoid we will get there.
Thank you. Good morning, Pan-African TV. Thanks very much for the good work you are doing for Mother Ghana. Your objective analysis of news is informing many of us regarding election 2024. Thank you very much for your message. Good morning to you and your panelists. In the space of 9 years, Kwame Nkrumah built a robust economy, goes on and on and on, and you are saying that my brother, it's about time Ghanaians vote for an independent candidate like Alan Kojo Chemantin to calm tension and to bring unity. No, don't smile. Yesterday on my show, and the people who have joined the movement for change, you'll be surprised. Please, good morning. Military lands around Tamale, fire service has been sold out by this government. How can... Look, I need a sponsor. I need somebody to sponsor me. I need to go to the northern region. No, I'm being honest. I need to go to Tamale because the way state lands are being stolen is unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I just need someone to sponsor me. Right now, Charlie... anyway, let's proceed. Let's proceed. Because there are so many issues that... Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, let's look at the other issues. And, Hamza Suhini is treading cautiously. It's understood.
I'm a nationalist.
My brother Papa Lewin says. My brother Papa Lewin said, "Masa, Ghana, in my opinion, Ghana is a republic, and we don't have a kingdom here in Ghana. I also believe that we should give the Ashanti independence because that's what they want, even before Ghana became a republic." Hey, Masa, Leslie Lex, you said that we are doing too many interjections. We are not allowing the panelists to flow. Then maybe you just started watching the show. All right. Which one should we discuss? Fuel prices, time for engagement is over. Organized labor declares as it raises to take on issues beyond state hotels, or collapse of banks was failed government policy intervention by Alan Kojo Chemantin. I know the biases, where the biases will lean towards. But I think that if you would indulge me, should we start with the SNIT matter?
Yeah.
Well, I'm
fine.
okay with.
Okay, so then let's proceed.
Well, like I said.
Or I should read the topic again.
No,
It says that
they said the
time for engagement is
engagement
okay.
is
All right,
over.
proceed,
Yeah,
proceed.
so
all right.
basically, we're all happy. You know, on this platform, I have raised a number of issues about the fact that I felt that labor had not been very engaging. And for a very long time, the vibrant labor that we used to know, that was determining policy, no longer exists. And it's not just labor. We also have lost that vibrancy in the student union front, where you had student union times past. Everybody in Ghana knew who the NUC's president was, because the NUC's president was always involved in policy discuss and was always championing the cause of students. But like we have allowed politics to infiltrate into many of our daily lives and groups and organizations, we've lost that vibrant civil society that was engaged and was holding government accountable for the things that they do. Now, you needed something to trigger some of these things for the labor and others to come back to life. And because it's interesting that somebody retires from and is paid less than 120 or 12,000 Ghana cedis as his pension, something that is less than somebody's monthly salary, and a teacher, senior superintendent will work for 30 years and gets less than 12,000 Ghana cedis as pension, and some people are paid as low as 350, 300, 400 Ghana cedis as their monthly pension payments. You see, so basically the people end up being dead before they even retire, because looking at what they are getting. But it also means that we have a saying that says that if you don't know how death is, look at sleep. So the people who are still in active service, looking at what those who have retired are taking, in most instances are compelled to be corrupt. And that is the basis of corruption in civil society, in civil service. Because if I will retire and be a pauper, then whilst I'm in active engagement, if I have to do something for you, you need to make sure you give me something, because I cannot retire and be on the street. So I need to build a house before I retire. I need to get myself a small car. I need to have a small business. So the period that I'm working, whatever service I provide, I would want to get something out of it in order that I can survive whilst I work and still survive after I have left active service. And so if you want to deal with corruption, probably one of the things you need to deal with is what benefits pensioners get. You see, it is very beautiful when you travel out and then in the night you see pensioners move out and they go and sit at the pub. They have very wonderful life after pension. That is where there is actually true life. And then you come back to your country and you see old men and women who have worked for this country, and then they are on the streets. Some of them are begging. Some of them their pension, they may even, the amount of money they have to spend going to SNIT to even get their pension sorted is unbelievable. It means that the SNIT itself as an institution has a problem. And so you need labor to now deal with the situation. Yes, I was talking to one of the TUC persons, and I was like, one of the things you need to probably demand is to now sponsor a private members bill, work with some members of parliament, to have a complete overhaul of SNIT. The president doesn't contribute to SNIT. In fact, all the top military people do not contribute to SNIT because they don't take pension benefits. So how come the person who doesn't contribute to the scheme is the one who determines who sits as the head of a scheme that he doesn't contribute to? How come he's the one who decides the majority of the members of the board and who decides the direction of a scheme for which they do not contribute? So probably Labour need to now look at the SNIT Act again, or the Pensions Act, and then make some drastic reforms to the Act through a private members bill. And now that they have shown that they have the muscles, they will be listened to if they now decide that we want to have a private members bill that puts majority of the board members who represent our interests as employees, the interests of employers, and people who make the majority of the contribution, particularly if you want to rope in the informal sector onto the SNIT scheme. So you have persons also from the informal sector sitting on the SNIT board and then making determination as to how the SNIT is run. They need to now take stock of all of the SNIT investments, because SNIT investments are our contribution, and it's our expectation that once SNIT manages our contribution well and they make profit from whatever contribution we are making, then we would have better pension. It's worrying when ILO comes to say that after 2032, SNIT may not be able to pay pension. It should give everybody cause to be concerned, because most of us sitting here by 2032 may not be in active service anymore. If God willing we are alive, we may all be retired. And so it means that we may, one way or the other, have to rely on the pensions that we are paying today. So if ILO comes to say after 2032 pensions may not be available, it means that by the time I retire, there won't be money. Those who are now taking, at least they are taking 320 and 350 Ghana cedis. So it means that I won't get anything at all, despite having contributed into the scheme, because somebody is mismanaging it. So Labour needed to now lead that process. And so, yes, Labour need to come up with some agitation, but it's not enough to just say we don't want to engage. We want to see practical reforms. Reforms to the law, reform to the SNIT structure, a proper audit of all of SNIT's investments, and how those investments are doing. Because if Labour will not lead such process, then Labour has no reason to exist. Because the reason they are in the TUC building, in the NAT building, in the Ghana Medical Association, the Ghana Midwifery and Nurses, the University Teachers Association of Ghana, and all of those organized labor groupings, is to seek the welfare of the persons who voted for them and ask them to lead. So they can no longer fail the people who have asked them to lead. This is the time for them to leverage on the goodwill of the people, and people now understanding that their investments are not being managed properly, and that political parties and politicians are taking advantage of the positions they hold to basically capture what is left for pension, for workers in their pension. They must lead that process. It's not enough to just say we are not engaging. We need to see them practically pushing for proper audit of all of. First, we need to have a data of all of SNIT's investments and probably cluster them into what investments are doing well, what investments are breaking even, what investments are struggling, and what investments are not, and what is it that could be done to make sure that those investments that are not doing well are turned around for them to be profitable, without necessarily bringing in politicians to make those decisions. And Labour must be seen to be doing this. If it means that they need to get consultants to help them, if they need to go and learn how others are doing it, they need to do it so that people can retire in happiness.
All right. Brilliant. Thank you. This one says, good morning to you, KOD. You look vibrant this morning. Have a lovely day. My dad watches your show every morning. Bless you, from Abba. Abba, thank you very much for your message. Good morning to you, KOD. The unfortunate thing about discussions on ethnicism in Ghana is the tendency to box hundreds of ethnic entities in northern Ghana as one ethnic group, Northerner. This unfortunate classification, which is widespread, is highly unfortunate in this time and age. Once people make references to ethnic groups such as the Ashantis, Ga, Fanti, etc., same should be accorded to the various ethnic groups of northern Ghana, not Northerner or the people of the north, as if those classifications are ethnic entities or groups. They remain geographical classifications, not ethnic classifications. Dr. Baba sent in this one. Dr. Baba, thank you very much for that worthy education. Good morning to KOD. Just a clarification from the SNP board and management that 60% offload when the money is realized. Are they going to put it in a safe to disburse, or they will reinvest into what? Yakumba Kufia Sante Enyan Dentra sent in this one. Good morning to you. I like your submissions this morning. My concern is, can't we do our own things to develop the nation and learning from other countries, example Rwanda? And Peter, watching you from Enchi. Peter, thank you very much. This one also says, Papolin, the slim matter, I will demonstrate against TUC on Friday, right at the traffic light around their office. Please kindly read through and see if government e-levy is not a robbery. One sporty bet 5,000. Hey, tell you the sporty bet, you are winning, pal. The last time you won 5,100. Today you have won 5,000. Out of the money, the same money I sent 1,500. Another deduction from my money is TUC did not fight for us at all during this e-levy time. Papolin, I beg, make I give you my number, make you know. All right. Good morning to you, K. With my regards to your guests, it is obvious that many are afraid of the Ashanti region and their leaders. Otumfuo came out openly to do an indirect politics for the NPP, telling Napo not to make Bawumia regret any day and pretending to hear and admit that Napo is arrogant. That means he should work hard to see the success of the party come December 7th elections. It's pure politics, which chiefs aren't supposed to do. And yet, many political communicators aren't seeing it as such. Dividing the region is not bad. But if they don't want it, we better leave it that way. And they can't complain that development is not reaching them. Say to John Paul, former SRC President Tatu. Good morning to you. Even in Bolga, state lands are being sold. The land that are supposed to be returned to owners have been sold by government. Director of Directors, Bolga. I need a sponsor. See, I have to go to Tamale or to Bolga or to Wa. I need sponsors. If you have somebody who can sponsor me, I'll be very glad. I will come with my camera, my crew, everything. Charlie, that story I'm very interested in, especially the lands around the airport. You know the lands around the airport. Good morning to you, KOD. I love your program this morning. In fact, chieftaincy issues causing more harm in Ghana today than NPP, because in Ghana today, everywhere there's chieftaincy dispute and conflict. Good morning to Pan-African TV. Please, my name is Felicia. Watching you live from Nkranza. Please tell the men on your show to allow the lady to also express herself and ask the NDC man whether they will bring allowance back. I'll be going to nursing training, and I don't think I can survive without the allowance. They better behave. Are you going to bring it back? A very good morning to you, KOD, and your panel. The division of Ashanti region is good, but this will render Ashanti powerless, of which the good people of Ashanti will not take it lightly. Felix Korte, a former teacher of Achimota Basic School. Good morning, KOD. In my opinion, regional ministers should be blended with an Ewe is sent to Western region to foster national unity, cohesion. Gibu. My brother, the people, the person who developed Kufuor, who was able to navigate, where was he from?
Yeah.
Ghana, no, you see, and this thing about it's actually very annoying. And I'll come to the matter, but it's actually very annoying when we say that once the presidential candidate is from, let's say, Ashanti region, the running mate should come from maybe Western region. Why?
It's a regional balance.
Why? It's nonsense.
The regional balance is for
it's
the
nonsense.
Not for the running mate.
It's nonsense. If, for instance, they say, this one is from the north. Okay, in this particular instance, I'm using the north as a block. So the north, and because somebody is from the north, we can't get the running mate coming from the north. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. If the people can develop the country, we do not care where they are coming from. Or Mr. Richards, would you care? If your fishing trolley, you pay very little for it.
You know why you know I wanted to talk about the 4% increment on the fuel.
They will come there. They don't come to Madam Ayana.
Because I'm looking at the amount of fuel I buy.
They are going to increase again. Madam Ayana, let me get to you.
I've always had a problem with SNITs because I don't know if they are there for labor. You know, although majority of us pay our SNIT contributions and the likes, because I ask myself, are the ordinary workers enjoying SNIT housing? They can't even afford to buy the houses that SNITs are putting up. And then you talk about SNIT, the SNIT hospitals and all that. Somehow, SNIT has not delivered to the populace that actually contribute towards its running. And the other thing too is, I know that with this, the board, we have four members of the labor unions there represented. And I was asking myself, so this four people, didn't they go back to the workers to tell them that this is what SNIT had intended to do, to sell our hotels? What kind of communication goes on through there between the board and then the workers? So I think that SNIT has to be looked at. We should do an overhaul of SNITs because it is not doing us any good. Civil servants and public servants actually go out there to negotiate for their salaries and whatnot. How about the ordinary people? They go there and they just sit because of the allowances they make, which beefs up their pay and their salaries. They don't think about those who are earning wages. And those earning wages are more than those who are salaried. Those are the things, and somehow we get all these nice things coming out. Oh, we are building housing, we are doing this, and meanwhile the people who contribute the most are not getting the housing. Maybe someone would tell me that maybe white-collar jobs are contributing more than blue-collar jobs and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the blue collars are more. So what's the use of SNIT anyway? I don't get it. So I agree with what Richard said. Yes, right. Okay. I agree with him.
Thank you.
But I think that we have to investigate a whole lot of things, audit their whole investments. It's important.
Very well. Good morning, Pan African TV. You are doing you're doing great work for Mother Ghana. Please keep on telling the truth all the time. Joseph Agoso from Yeji, and he says he needs the person who won the sporting bets number. Good morning, KO. The creation and division of regions is based on so many reasons, such as tribe, ethnicity, size, and on conflict basis. Well, thank you very much. We are just provoking the discussions also. You can spark the conversation. Good morning to all Pan-African TV viewers. All right, thank you. Good morning to you, KOD. Where is it? Good morning, KOD. The more we divide the regions, the more we divide ourselves as Ghanaians. That has made tribalism to take part in our body politic. Bibi from Accra. Well, that's also not a bad observation. You know, so I mean, once we start the argument, you know. W. Owaja, you are watching me. Good morning to you. I wish you speedy recovery. Okay. All right, champion. It is very important you come to Tamale and see things for yourself. Lands are being sold with so much impunity and disregard to our chiefs. Listen, I have to come to Tamale. We need to. I don't know how. Right now, I don't have money. Otherwise, Charlie.
Those of us around this table, we should have been able
putting out the budget. Maybe you get somebody to support you.
Oh no, me. I thought there's
He knows the accommodation will be on me. So
you've already got accommodation.
just the flight and a few other things.
Yeah, so about
So
how
your
many of you?
accommodation is dealt with.
No, that's for accommodation. That this man they will take care of me. But I'm talking about.
And you give you a vehicle to move around
yes,
Tamale.
you get.
So it's not just
So it's just my going.
Yeah.
Me and my team. Oh, that's
your
my
team.
team.
How many are your team? I mean,
I'll go with the best. I'll go with Bless. I'll go with Justice. I'll go with Greg. So
You won't
for
add me.
they'll be for you there.
So
You'll be on the high
so
seas.
you should put it out there. 4 of them.
Yeah, 4 of them. 4 of
So
them.
anyone who can accommodate
4 of them.
4 people.
4 of them.
Then
So
we'll
if
see
you
the
want
rest.
to, if you want to sponsor us, please just send me
All
a
the
message
4
and
people
we'll call you after the show.
So all the 4 people will be
Yeah.
accommodated.
Yeah.
You see, so we are getting there.
So
So if you go to
somebody-
Bernard Mona will accommodate you.
yes.
Exactly.
So if you want to sponsor us, you can WhatsApp the number. Alaji Hamza and P Farm says, good morning to you, my brother. My brother, the good people of Rwanda had the trust in the president, Paul Kagame, simply because he has been able to bring the people together as one nation. My brother, look here. There's a particular place in Rwanda set aside for housing projects. Oh, of course, for the poor. Rwanda makes a lot of money from tourism. But take a look at us in Ghana. We cannot even make good use of Nkrumah to make more monies for Africa. Go to South Africa and see the country is making lots of money from through tourism simply because of Mandela. Go to Soweto and see. All that we are going through in Ghana is all about leadership crisis. Today, Ghana has become a laughing stock in the eyes of the international communities when it comes to fight against corruption. Corruption is eating us up as a country. Until we do something about corruption, then we should forget about it. All right, thank you very much. KOD, my issue about Kenakabori land. Yes. There's some Kenakabori's land which has been stolen by some people. Yeah, in fact, he was living there and the people just brought bulldozer and started misbehaving.
But you hear that
we'll look at that.
About 14 houses.
14 of their houses have been demolished and
Yeah.
private people have taken over.
Yeah. Let me say a special good morning to ACP Dr. Chidi, one of the best police officers I've ever encountered in my life. The best. He's in Takrade. Good morning to you, ACP Dr. Chidi. Your promotion has delayed, but it is never denied. It will happen. Yeah. Good morning, Sam from Laboni. Please, you people shouldn't forget that it is a referendum that will pave the way for the division of Ashanti region. But the issue is that, are you sure the Ashantis will vote yes for the region to be divided? That'll be the problem. Charlie, Hamza, let me come to you.
I told you.
Yeah.
Talking about chiefs, I'll get to the Senate issue. I just saw something interesting. I thought it prudent to share.
Please.
At least they can, irrespective of the reservations we have about their role, we cannot also deny the fact that when it comes to issues of accountability, some of them live up to the expectation. I'm just reading that the Yona, the chief of Savulgu,
Okay.
yesterday was very candid in his encounter with Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia.
Oh, sir.
Oh, yes. Where he said that if you make promises, to quote him, if you make promises, try to fulfill them. We, the Ghanaians, are observing and are interested to know the kind of promises you make to us and how you handle them as a government. We all know where this caution is coming from. Basically, because of the conduct of Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. And he was specific. He said, look, I've heard you on different occasions. This is the Yona speaking. Promising to convert veterinary college into a university. I've had a meeting with the school authorities, UDS, and even the Ministry of Agriculture on it. And I think this should pave the way for you. So I'm appealing to you to fulfill your promise. Yes. You see, so but you see, in a way, this is an example of a chief who is holding a politician known to be peddling all manner of promises just for political power. And some of these things must not be glozed over. We should also commend such chiefs for living up to our constitutional dictates of ensuring accountability. And on that basis, I think that I want to commend the Yona for looking straight into the eyes of Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia and cautioning him to at least tone down on these deceptive promises to the good people of this country. We are tired. Now back to the Senate issue. My brother, I can understand why organized labor is tired. They are not the only people who are tired. Every Ghanaian, as we speak today, unless, of course, you are not concerned about the country Ghana, is tired. These are a group of guys who somewhere in 2016 made all the beautiful promises to protect not just the lands of this country, but to also ensure that this country is manned in a way to guarantee jobs for the people. We did not force them to make those promises. This is the same group of people who raised concerns about the economy of our country and the fact that they felt that the developmental projects were not going down to the people. We countered it. But because of the power of their propaganda machinery, the NDC struggles to compete. And so they got away with it. Today, Nana Addo is president of the Republic of Ghana. And Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is his vice and chairman of his economic management team. What have we seen? People are talking about SNIT. Where did we start before we got to SNIT? When this government came into power, the first national asset they went to attack was our energy sector. Under the PDS arrangement. Have you forgotten?
I don't.
They divided Electricity Corporation of Ghana into shares and shared it amongst Nana Addo's family members and friends. To the extent that it was given a share of that particular PDS was given to a barber friend of theirs. Organized labor was quiet. It's Electricity Corporation of Ghana. Their workers are not part of TUC. So we saw the trend. And the NDC started cautioning and inviting trade union congress and other labor unions that you need to rise up, if not for anything at all, for yourselves. We were not listened to. So they were emboldened by that move. So after PDS, what happened? They went to attack our lands. And we raised concerns about the conduct of the NPP. When it comes to grabbing of lands, it didn't start with this Nana Addo administration, just that it is unprecedented now under Nana Addo. Under President Kufuor, it was not just lands they grabbed. They actually grabbed government bungalows, state property. That was what led to Dr. Omane Boamah and Ablakwa taking the matter to court. And what happened? The judiciary of this country did not see anything wrong with that. And so the late Obechebi Lamte was parked in the back, and he went away with the state property. Today, they have gone to attack not just one house belonging to a judge. They have attacked 14 houses belonging to judges in this country. And the interesting thing is that the judges themselves have now rushed to the judiciary, seeking justice to prevent the government from taking over their homes. That was the very situation that Dr. Omane Boamah and Honorable Ablakwa sought to prevent. Today we are there. Because we know what Nana Addo is capable of doing. We were telling the people of this country, they were not listening. So this is not new. It started somewhere, and for us to find an antidote to it, we need to go back to where this all started. And make sure that we don't repeat that mistake come 7 December 2024. Enterprise Insurance. When they assumed office, in line with their state capture agenda, Enterprise Insurance now does most of government insurance activities, public institutions. I received a phone call, not Lemugu, from a good friend, from a friend of mine who is in Nigeria. Then I was in London when the call came. And you know what he wanted to know? He wanted to know the owners behind Enterprise Insurance. And I asked why. And his question was like, can you believe what is happening in this country? Insurance companies that have been in Nigeria for years, the government just announced a minimal capital requirement for insurance companies. And this new entrant in the business is one of the first insurance companies in Nigeria to be able to meet that capital requirement when they just entered into that country less than 6 months ago. And we all know the owners of Enterprise Insurance. Where did that get that money from? Where did they get that money from? To enter forcefully in that light in Nigeria. So, you see, It is bigger than the SNIT issue, the 60% stake.
It
is bigger than it.
It
It is a grand agenda. And that is why organized labor must wake up. It is not too late to demand accountability, not just in relation to SNIT and the 60% shares in the hotels. We're in this country. When they started the financial sector cleanup, again, the NDC cautioned about these implications on workers. We are not listened to. We had no support from organized labor. At the end of the day, the government claimed to have used 21 billion Ghana cedis in the financial sector cleanup. You use 21 billion Ghana cedis to render so many people unemployed? And what has been the impact of that financial sector cleanup on even small to medium scale enterprises that were coming out?
It was useless. That decision.
It collapsed businesses. Organized labor and the labor unions were quiet. Today, we've run to the IMF demanding $3 billion. Convert $21 billion as of 2017 that was used for the financial cleanup exercise, and consider the exchange rate then. It was more than $3 billion in equivalent terms. Again, as a result of PDS, government lost close to $2 billion by their own activities. This same Nana Bawumia government. Today, we are chasing for $3 billion from the IMF. So, my brother, you see, I can understand. It's not organized labor that is fed up, like I indicated. Everybody is tired. But the question is, how do we seek redress?
All right.
And that is where I come to, if you permit me.
And end on that. Yeah.
You see, first of all, 2016 was not the first time Nana Addo appeared on the political landscape. In 2008, when he appeared, the NDC told Ghanaians that, look, this is a disaster in waiting. Keep him away from our body politics. In fact, before that, President Kufuor had cause in London to caution the MPP against electing a tension-filled candidate. And everybody knew then who he was referring to. We all paid heed. And so the Ghanaian people listened and rejected him. In 2012, the same man came back. Ghanaians still rejected him because we knew him. But after 2012, what happened? They made Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia the star boy. And Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia started by visiting our university campuses to render lectures grounded in political economic theory with no reference to practicality and the political economic situation of the country and even the global context then. And so Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia led the MPP in making all kinds of promises. We're going to give you $1 million per constituency. We're going to give you 1 district, 1 dam. We're going to give you 1 village, 1 factory. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia made all the promises and promised that by in 18 months there will be no issue of water and toilet problems in this country. Nobody forced him to make those promises. And so,
NDC was complicit.
No, I'll get there. It's not that we're complacent. And you see, so he made all those promises. So for a minute, I think that the Ghanaian people believed it. Because everybody wants his or her life to be better. But the issue is that it was Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and in fact, the MPP gave them that credit. Gave him that credit. Right. Even those of you in the media, you still give him that credit for winning 2016 elections for the MPP. But I accept it without any consent. But you see, my brother, it is important, if we all agree today as a country, that decision we made in 2016 was a wrong decision. Which people led us as a people in making that decision? Clearly, Dr. Bawumia played an instrumental role. Now we are denied of the opportunity to punish Nana Addo for that mess created in our body politics and that deception. Right. Who is better placed to take that anger now? Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And one cannot excuse it and say that, oh, he wanted political power, that's why he made those promises. No. Even in government, the man persisted with the promises. In government, he went to Cape Coast and told them that he was going to build them an ultra-modern harbour in 2020.
An airport.
And an airport. As if that was not enough, he promised the good people of this country, students, that he was going to give them free laptops, all senior high school students. then subsequently amended the promise that it was going to be computers with textbooks installed on it. The same Bawumia in government said that he was going to construct, what do they call it? Is it concrete roads in our country? That same Bawumia promised all sort of things as sitting vice president.
Sky train.
And that he was going to give us a sky train.
I'm waiting for the sky.
You see, so my brother,
I have to remind you.
this is, you see, and that is why I started by my discussion by reading what the chief of Savilibo said, the Yona. We have reached a stage that every Ghanaian has legitimate cause to be angry. Right. And there's the need for us to punish our politicians from time to time. And I feel that we have gotten to a stage where there is the need for us to keep the likes of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia far from the politics of this country.
Thank you very much.
And there's no better way to do that is to than to give him an embarrassing defeat come 7 December 2020.
Thank you very much.
There's no better way to do that.
Hamza, good morning to you.
Than to send 2 of you home.
Good morning, KOD. I need your number. My number. Okay. Are you sending Momo or what? Because we have to go to Tamale. As for the hotel, the accommodation is taken care of. So, good morning, Pan African TV. In fact, I'm actually enjoying your program. May God bless your show. Please, I want to ask Hamza to explain their 24-hour economy to a lay farmer who is happy to produce yam in his farm. Also, tell us one initiative during their tenure. Is it that they just need power? That they have just forgotten what their flag bearer said? He is not a magician to solve Ghanaian problems. So they should allow the morning star to shine. All right. This one says, dazzling black suit, Orokoto, she, and you look great. Kindly chat to me after the show. This is Eben from Progressive Forces. Okay, Eben. KOD, ask Auntie Rhoda why her party has 2 different names, Movement for Change or Alliance for Revolutionary Change. Okay, thank you very much, Eben.
I'll tell you.
All right, KOD, I heard, I heard that they are passing a bill for MPs to drive without speed limits. What a funny country. Good morning, Pan African TV. First of all, borders were created to divide us, not to bring us together by the colonizers, and that is exactly what NPP is doing. The more we are divided, the more we are easily controlled and boxed in. The 10 regions in Ghana were there for a reason and were supposed to be left as such. My name is Gunu, watching live from Sunyani. Gunu, I hear you, sir. Good morning to you and the panel, especially my brother Hamza. You see, this government, they have squandered all the state lands, including those reserved for expansion of health facilities. All right, Abdul Nasser from Tamale inside Gumbihini. Gumbihini.
That's my area.
Okay. All right. Listen. Good morning. Okay, I think I've read this one already. All right. Let me read as usual. Let me continue with chapter 22. Master, don't rush me out of the show. I don't like this. Stop it. Whoever is behind in the stop it. I don't like it. Don't rush me off the show. Chapter 22 of Kwame Nkrumah, The Greatest African Leader book. We continue. Just chapter 22 and chapter 23. Castle Crossroads shooting. On February 28, 1948, a group of ex-soldiers constituting the ex-servicemen's union of the Gold Coast staged a protest march in Accra to complain to the governor, Sir Gerard Creasy, about their poor living conditions. The grounds for the protest was that most of the ex-soldiers were veterans who had fought in the First World War and the Second World War on behalf of the British, but had been abandoned to their fate since their return to the Gold Coast. Led by Ben Tamaklo, ex-soldiers numbering about 2,000 marched towards the OWUSU Christian Board Castle, to deliver their petition to the governor. Listen, just like Okujeto wanted to deliver his petition to the president. When they arrived at the crossroads that leads to the castle, the colonial police guard, led by Superintendent Colin Imre, asked them to stop and give him their petition so that he would present it to the governor on their behalf. The ex-soldiers refused, insisting that they wanted to meet the governor themselves. As they pressed forward, Superintendent Imre fired gunshots at them, killing Sergeant Ajete, Private Odate, and Corporal Latipo in cold blood. Several others got injured in the ensuing chaos. Chapter 23. Rioting and looting. By sheer coincidence, the shooting incident occurred on the same day that the one-month boycott had been called off. The streets were therefore teeming with a large crowd of people who were coming to town to shop for the first time in a long while. The streets were busy again. When the news of the deaths were heard in Accra Central, pandemonium broke out spontaneously. The people decided to retaliate. They attacked any foreigner in sight. Some of the youth took advantage of the situation and looted many of the foreign-owned shops, setting some of them on fire. When the colonial police was called in to intervene, listen to this please very carefully, listen. When the colonial police was called in to intervene, they had a lot of difficulty calming the situation. This is because, for the first time, a direct confrontation ensued between the police and the people of the Gold Coast. There are some accounts which suggest that even some of the Africans in the police force took sides with the rioters, and so they pretentiously watched on while the youth vented their anger. According to the official report, 29 persons died and some 237 others were injured. Undoubtedly, that defiance sent a strong signal to the colonial administration that the people of the Gold Coast were fast becoming politically conscious. Tomorrow, we will read chapter 24, where a meeting was convened between the members of the Big Six for the purposes of addressing the issue of the positive defiance. It is important that we learn from Osajifo Dr. KWAME Nkrumah and his peers and the journey to our independence. The independence that has given Napo the liberty to go and stand on a platform to act in a buffoonery, and so and disrespectful manner. We will continue the agenda of agending. On the basis of that, I'm sorry.
I just want to say that
My time is actually far exceeded.
If you want to know how Ghana looks today,
yeah,
we were being ruled by Buzia Dankwa Domo. As you get to Buzia's statue, take a good look at Buzia's statue. It's all run down. That's exactly how we are today.
God damn punchline. Thank you, Mr. Register. Thank you for your time this morning. I really appreciate your presence every time. You know this. Thank you, Rhoda, for your time this morning. And thank you, Hamza, for your time this morning. I want to extend a voice of gratitude to the viewers. You have made today possible. I've seen a lot of your messages. Unfortunately, I was not able to read all of them, but I tried to read some of them. Tomorrow we'll continue with the morning show. Stick and stay. Keep on watching Pan-African television. And tomorrow we'll continue with this book, KWAME Nkrumah. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.